Welcome to the ultimate guide to UFC rules. Today we're gonna break down the key regulations that govern professional MMA fights. You know, it's like, these guys and girls are going in there trying to rip each other's heads off, but there are still rules. It's not just a free-for-all, although sometimes it feels like it, right? So if you're new to the sport, this is your crash course on what's legal, what's not, and how the whole damn thing works. We're talking knockouts, submissions, judges' decisions, the whole 9 yards. Let's do this. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about the fight structure. In the UFC, a standard non-title fight goes for 3 rounds, 5 minutes each. That's 15 minutes of pure, unadulterated combat, man. Now, title fights, those are the big kahunas. They go for 5 rounds, so a full 25 minutes. That's a whole other level of endurance and grit. And listen, those 5 minutes in the Octagon, they feel a lot longer when you're the one throwing and taking punches. Between each round, fighters get a 1-minute rest period. That's when their cornermen come in, give them water, maybe a pep talk, try to fix any cuts or swelling. It's a crucial minute, believe me. There are a few ways to win a UFC fight, and let me tell you, they're all pretty damn exciting. The most spectacular way is a knockout, or KO. That's when a fighter gets hit so hard they're out cold, lights out, done. Then there's the technical knockout, or TKO, where the referee steps in and stops the fight because a fighter is taking too much damage and can't intelligently defend themselves. Another way to win is by submission. This is where things get really technical. We're talking arm bars, leg locks, chokes, you name it. If you can force your opponent to tap out, you win. Sometimes a fighter might get caught in a submission and not tap, but they're still hurt. That's called a technical submission, and the ref will stop the fight to prevent serious injury. And then there are decisions. If the fight goes the distance, meaning all the rounds are completed, it goes to the judges. They score each round based on striking, grappling, aggression, and control of the Octagon. The fighter with the most points at the end wins by decision. It's rare, but sometimes you see disqualifications. That's when a fighter breaks the rules. We'll get into those in a bit. And the ref has to DQ them. And then there's the forfeit, which is even rarer. That's when a fighter can't continue for some reason, like an injury outside of the fight. Now let's talk about what these fighters can actually do in the Octagon. In terms of striking, they can use punches, kicks, knees, and elbows. But listen, they can't just go wild. There are specific targets they have to aim for. No hitting the back of the head, no shots to the groin, no eye gouging. That kind of stuff will get you disqualified real quick. Grappling and wrestling are a huge part of MMA, and the UFC allows for a wide range of takedowns, throws, and clinch work. Think about it. Taking your opponent down to the mat opens up a whole new world of attack. And of course, we can't forget about submissions. These are the fight-ending techniques that make jiu-jitsu such a big part of MMA. Arm bars, leg locks, chokes, you name it. If it's a legitimate submission hold, it's fair game in the UFC. And when it comes to ground and pound, those punches and elbows from the top position can be absolutely brutal. Now, just because these fighters are trying to knock each other out doesn't mean anything goes. There are rules against foul tactics, and if you break them, you're gonna have a problem. We're talking eye gouging, groin strikes, biting. That's some straight-up street fighting crap, and it'll get you DQ'd faster than you can say tap, snap, or nap. Strikes to the back of the head or spine are also illegal. Those are dangerous shots, man. You hit someone in the wrong spot, you can paralyze them. And then there's the 12-6 elbow. That's when you bring your elbow straight down on your opponent's head. It's just too much force, too much potential for injury. Headbutting is a big no-no, and so is fish hooking, which is when you stick your fingers in someone's mouth and try to rip their cheek open. Small joint manipulation is also illegal. That's like trying to break someone's fingers or toes. And don't even think about kicking or kneeing a grounded opponent in the head. That's a recipe for disaster. And one more thing, holding the cage. You can't just grab onto the fence for leverage or to stop a takedown. That's cheating, plain and simple. The UFC has weight classes to make sure fights are fair and competitive. Imagine Conor McGregor, as skilled as he is, getting in the Octagon with Francis Ngannou. It wouldn't be pretty. So fighters are matched up against opponents who are in their weight class. Now, there are a lot of weight classes in the UFC, all the way from the lighter guys in the flyweight division, which is 125 pounds, up to the behemoths in heavyweight, where there's no weight limit. You've got your bantamweights at 135, featherweights at 145, lightweights at 155. Those are some of the most exciting divisions in the UFC, man. Then you've got welterweight at 170, middleweight at 185, light heavyweight at 205, and then heavyweight, where these dudes are just absolute monsters. And listen, making weight is serious business in the UFC. Fighters have to weigh in the day before the fight, and if they're over the limit, they can be fined, or even worse, the fight could be cancelled. Thanks for watching. Now you know the key rules that keep UFC fights fair and exciting. It's a complex sport, but that's what makes it so damn compelling. You've got all these different fighting styles, all these different ways to win, and the stakes are always high, so next time you're watching a UFC event, pay attention to the rules. You'll appreciate the skill and strategy even more. And who knows, maybe you'll even get hooked on the sport like I did. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more MMA content.